On the day before the Polimoda Graduate Show, the students are showing their final collections to their tutors and making finishing touches. At this point, most of the collection is complete, but the tutors might have some minute details that they think the students should change. At this point, they also need to ensure that all the clothing fits perfectly on the models. Today was very chaotic because there were people going between studios and adding finishing touches to their collections, but I wanted to go to the studio and ask a few students about their graduate collections. Okay, right now we're in Florence, and today we're showing you exactly what happens at the graduate show of a fashion school. Today is actually the day before the Polimoda show, so it's really just documenting what happens on the day before. First, I spoke to JT Prince, a fashion design student with some really fun ideas.
So I am JT Prince, and my collection this year is a women's wear collection. This collection was really born this last summer when I visited my grandparents' farm in Idaho. So I'm originally from Salt Lake City, but my grandparents live in Idaho. Every summer as a kid, I would go up there, work on his farm. And in the past few years, my grandparents having passed, you know, we go up there as a family still, but this last summer I had this really strong feeling of nostalgia. And it was a weird feeling. It was not happy, not sad, kind of melancholic, you know, but you remember these good memories and you don't know where to place it almost. I'm a different person now, but I have these good memories of this other person. And so with this collection, what I really wanted to do was take all of those elements that are maybe nostalgic to me from the farm. I used a lot of tarps, a lot of plastics, even like Western and Midwestern staples, like a plastic covered sofa, you know, to protect it. So trying to use any element that I feel like was nostalgic, even if it wasn't a rich element, and then put that in a collection in a sophisticated way, to show that, you know, I have all of these elements of the past and they're in a different composition now. It's changed completely, but it's still the same in a way. My neighbor said this really beautiful story one time. She was like, you know, our roots are always gonna be the same, but our leaves change every year. And so that's what this collection really is. It's about our roots being the same, but us being different.
Do you have a title for the collection?
It's called Homecoming. Yeah, exactly. So here is some of the lineup right here, the chosen lineup. We have a lot of dresses. Again, I tried to make it quite elegant because I felt like that would be an interesting juxtaposition with all of these farm elements. This is one of my favorite pieces right here. It's a dress, but the idea of it is that the jacket had the lining falling out, and then the woman has now created this lining to be a dress. So it's no longer what it was originally. And yeah, the outside, we have the little tags.
Can you tell me a bit about what it's made of?
Yeah, so this dress it's 100% silk, the lining, and then 100% wool for the jacket outer. With the materials, because I'm using so many low materials like plastics, I wanted to make sure that I elevated in the other materials, so that you have this really rich material and you have this really not poor is not the right word, but very low material, you know, very cheap material is the word, I guess, to combine those.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is really nice. Is there a specific reason for the colors, or?
The colors are coming a lot from Andrew Wyeth. I was really inspired by his artwork, his paintings. I always loved them as a kid. I feel like even Christina's World, where you have these colors, it's very tonal, but you'll still find reds in there. You'll still find, you know, maybe a green that's a little bit more rich. So for me, I got a lot of my colors from there. which is interesting because with that, I felt like there were a lot of colors that I did see on the farm. So to be able to connect those with a painting that was painted years ago, and I thought that was very interesting.
No, I think that's
Yeah.
interesting too.
Yeah.
What's the reason for the tag being?
Yeah, so this tag being outside, again, just that lining coming out. So it's supposed to be quite literal as like she just has the lining pulled out of the jacket to make a new item. So now it's a dress, and I thought it was kind of, I don't know, not just kind of interesting to have it pulled out
I
like
love
that.
that idea. Like
Thank
the
you.
idea of like a lining could be turned to its own garment. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't think I've ever heard of anyone doing that actually.
No, it's fun. And here I actually have the part where it would have been the sleeve, and now it's creating a new drape. Yeah, a little something. This is the one that I've been debating on too, because the idea of it is, that it is ripped out. So you're having to balance refining certain parts of it, but then leaving some raw. So now it's that perfect like tightrope of like, okay, are we gonna like leave this one raw? Are we gonna clean it up a little bit?
How many looks do they make you do for the graduate show?
So we do 6 looks,
Right.
is the minimum, and it can be comprised of however many pieces, one piece or multiples.
Does that include footwear and
We
accessories?
need to have footwear and accessories as well.
need to?
We
Oh,
need
wow.
to, exactly, especially for our final when we do the exam.
Right.
We're supposed to have all of those. Although sometimes in the fittings, when they change things, they might take things out, put things in, tell us to add something. We're open to it. We love the feedback.
Could you show me more about like what's going on with the footwear? What's going on?
Yeah. So
The
the
other elements.
footwear here, I took the basic pump, and what I wanted to do was, like I was saying earlier with that plastic covered couch, take that and put it into footwear. So this is, I put fluff in there, ovata, and then covered it with velvet, and then covered it with the plastic to give that idea of the covered sofa. One of my instructors had called it like the Minnie Mouse shoe, because when you put it on, your foot looks very like large and chunky, but it's cute though. I promise.
That idea. It actually comes to me specifically when I look at it. It does look like the couch
Does it? Do you feel it?
sort of shoe, which is so great because I think something that's been missing in fashion really is like having a through line of like brand identity between like every single product from the footwear to
Totally.
the bags to the clothes, and that's
Exactly.
really cool how you've done
Thank you.
that.
Thank you so
I
much.
really love that.
So, and there are rough around some of the edges. I'm not a footwear maker, but I'm refining it as we go. Also for handbags, I tried to do things, again, that were a little bit with this lower materials. So I took a tarp and then combined it with this vintage bag that I had found at a market. And yeah, just tried to give it a new life and tried to make it look like something that was quite elegant, but also make you, do a double take when you see it, because you're like, wait, what is that made out of? And then I also played around with some of the shoes as well. So another pump that is covered in that material, and then a boot as well. Yeah.
It's funny because when you think of this fabric, you think of those like market bags.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you've turned it into other
Other
aspects of-
materials. Well, it's so funny, especially with that blue. I mean, for me, in the Western United States, we definitely these are everywhere on the farm,
Yeah.
and you'll cover your equipment with it. And so I always think like, oh yeah, that's a tarp, that's a farm tarp. But everyone sees this blue here and they're like, it's an IKEA bag. It's an IKEA bag. Like, it's not an IKEA bag actually, but
I think it just depends on like culture because I'm from Nigeria and we use these bags to like market bags, like shopping bags. Like when you go shopping, you just put everything in it.
And there's
it's
the
quite a
classic plaid.
durable material, so you can put loads of things in it and it won't like rip or something.
totally,
Yeah.
totally, yeah.
Okay,
That's,
any other looks?
any other there? So the other ones are downstairs, awaiting the fitting. We have more of the
wow.
shoes.
Let's have a
So
look.
these are some of the other colors. Again, that same idea of the plastic covered couch. And for styling, I'm trying as well to, just add a couple couple elements that maybe don't seem like they go. I make it something interesting. So here's a bag that I had been doing a manipulation with the sequins, and maybe on some of this farm elements, maybe this is the item that the woman would have found in her grandma's attic, and you're mixing it with all of these rougher materials.
Right.
Same with the vintage bag here. These are things that you would find with a woman that is on a farm. There's this elegance that there as well, like this ladylike items that you find.
It was really refreshing listening to JT speak and just hearing him work through his ideas. As you can see, I said it's very chaotic. Some of the clothes are downstairs, some are in the studio. It's a bit all over the place. So it's quite refreshing to see designers last minute still decide exactly what direction they're going to go before the show. That's really cool, because then when you see the show, everything looks polished. But up until the day before, designers are still making decisions about their work. And this happens in the industry as well, not just in graduate collections. But anyway, I had to go and look for more design students and find different students to interview about their collection.
And the collection at the moment is this one. And my name is Nansen, and I come from Rome, here in Italy. And the collection, the inspiration from the collection comes from the intersection of two different aspects of the heritage that I got from my family, my father's side of the family. There is a family of architects. They're very formal, very strict also by the way they wear their clothing, and that's where I got the iconography mainly of the clothing. And also, thanks to that kind of architectural background, I did a research of shapes that I implemented in the collection that was about the work of Philip Stark, that I tried to reinterpret it in a more wearable way into clothing. And to detach a little bit from this rigidity, I kind of stepped on my own journey through the footsteps of Fridtjof Nansen, that was a Norwegian explorer of the late 1900s. And which is also the reason why I'm called Nansen. And so I took on this journey, taking inspiration from some elements that comes from the Arctic, especially graphically and after a graphic point of view, both for the prints and the manipulations, but also for the knitwear. These are all elements that comes from that kind of context. And also there are some elements that call back to vintage ski wear and ski elements, because Nansen was actually one of the first pioneers of skiing as well as we see it today. Because after his first expedition to Greenland, he wrote a book about how he was able to do so thanks to the use of skiing. And so then after the book was published, it became always more and more popular, also interpreted as a skiing, as a sport. And so I tried to add also this element into the collection to give it more of a sportive.
What kind of fur are you using?
So I use both fake synthetic fur and also shearling, especially for this bigger bomber. It was made out of shearling, and also for the hat. But for example, for this bigger coat, in order to achieve this manipulation, was essential to use the fake fur, because I had to burn it. And so yes. Then there is also a movement that I've studied in this collection. There is this movement that leans towards the front of the shoulder, which I found it very interesting, because also from the front you can see the figure that looks very static. Yeah. But then when it turns around, you see how it carves the shoulder. And even if it's relaxed, you still feel the tension in the way.
How are you able to make the shape so structural when sometimes fur can be a bit soft, sometimes can go all over the place?
Yeah, so in this particular case, I used some kind of very resilient boning to put inside the seam, especially the vertical seam, so that it would keep
the shape,
the volume. Yeah, because the problem with the shearling is that it's very heavy and fluent at the same time. So for it to keep a shape, you really need to build a structure.
Reinforce it with something.
Exactly. But for the rest of the pieces, I tried to leave them as natural as they could be, except for the structure that are on the back of these two, of the opening and of the closing look. That comes from the research on the shapes I was talking to you about before. Yeah. And also accessory-wise, like this bag here that is not very visible in this picture, I made it in a manipulation with Ovata and like some PVC, so they would create these kind of holes that reminds a lot of the snow surface. And also this one is made with a manipulation that I made that comes still from this faux four, with a layer of PVC so that it would give that kind of iced, shiny effect, which I found was very interesting.
What's this? What's he holding here?
Okay, this is a last minute change actually, because these ski sticks here, these are bamboo ski sticks, were originally supposed to hold the bag that has two hoops to kind of hold it like that, but it got changed last minute, so now they're just gonna be like a styling piece that he's gonna wear, he's gonna hold, and so yeah.
Nice. Is there any inspiration specifically to the shape of the tailoring?
So yeah, the cut of the pants, like it changes pant to pant, but it kind of keeps the same silhouette that comes from the vintage ski wear salopettes. So that also in the back, unfortunately here is not visible, but there is like a V-shaped silhouette salopette that kind of reconnects with the straps in the front. And also the pants is kind of wider at the bottom for the ski boots kind of to be put inside, right? And instead for the jacket I tried to keep a very it was a work of balance kind of, especially with this look that has such a strong impact on the shoulder and on the construction of the sleeve that is very very rounded, but in a very like cohesive way. I tried to keep the body of the jacket very thin and very attached to the body, so that the attention of the whole movement of the jacket would be drawn towards the shoulder and the sleeve. And yeah, but for the rest of the garments in the collection, there is a little bit this feeling of being wrapped in a shell, kind of, both this trench that is also very architectural.
Which is kind of like the feeling you want to recreate if you're in where there's a lot of snow, it's cold.
Exactly.
You do kind of want to recreate a feeling of being wrapped in like the comfort of the warmth.
Exactly. Yeah, and also this bomber here, that is, also this one got changed a little bit because in the beginning, this part here of the face was supposed to be all over, was literally supposed to overwhelm you somehow, and so yeah.
So I'm Sape, I'm from Paraguay, South America, and this year I'm a fourth year at Polimoda, and I decided to make some collection talking a little bit about us as humans, but I started a little bit the story. So practically my grandpa once, he wears suits all the time, and once I went to say goodbye to the airplane, like to say goodbye to go to the airplane, and he looks at me and he's like, oh my God, why are you dressed like that? Like the airplane just might fall. And why would you wear that if you know that maybe you just might die? So I created this collection that is called A Deadly Occasion, which I talk about how little importance we give to things today. Like now we're going on the airplane and sometimes people are doing their skincare and people are doing this crazy stuff and you're up there like in the sky and you just might fall, you know? And just thinking about it, it showed me that today we don't give importance to things. Like my grandpa, when he was younger, he would go on an airplane and he would wear a suit and he would wear it as a whole occasion. Also, of course, because of how much the air experience changed.
Was that a thing that he did on airplanes, or was it just everywhere he went?
Everywhere, but mostly like this expression of him looking at me and going like, oh my God, like this thing that you don't wear like properly clothing to go to the airplane is crazy. Like to him it was so out of the world for me to be wearing joggers and a t-shirt, you know. To him it was like, why not a suit? Or like, why not proper dress, you know? And if you think about it today, like we don't think about being in the airplane as being in an airplane. We just are there doing our makeup. Sometimes people are doing their hair, washing their hair in the airplane, like doing all this crazy stuff, and in reality, like, it can fall.
Yeah.
And today we are in an airplane that is falling, and we are doing our makeup and doing our hair and even sleeping, you know. Like it's one of those things, like it's about to fall. We are about to fall, you know. And even in clothing is one of the biggest polluters, like in the world, you know. So just to think, like it's giving importance to think if you buy something, and you keep it for a long time and you take care of it, you're giving it importance, which also makes the airplane not fall, probably. So for me, it's this big metaphor, but at the same time, I think the best way to confront life is with irony.
That's a metaphor for what's going on in the world right now. Right.
For sure. And to me, like the best way to confront these type of things is irony, because when you make something so funny that we all laugh, for us it's all ridiculous, you know. If you think about it like that, it's so ridiculous, and then you go like, oh, but I do it. And if I think of it, it's ridiculous, but I do it. So should I rethink what I do, you know? That is like the main, for me, like my main point in everything I do. So I did my grandpa, and I wanted to make fun of him, you know? I wanted to imagine him, like he's wearing a suit, but it's actually a towel.
And are these like colors that he would typically wear?
Yeah, I also think it's like very classic colors. I wanted also to work for the first time in playing on something that somebody would actually wear, like my grandpa would actually wear it. It's just a little bit out of his comfort zone. It's not pushing it completely, because I've always tried to push it completely. But this time it's like, for me, something that, of course, he can keep this forever, but it's crazy, but it's also wearable, you know, it was hard.
So why did you choose a towel?
A towel, because I love the idea of when people take their socks out in the fucking airplane, you know, and they're like walking shoeless and sockless, and there's like, imagine like your foot naked on the carpet of the,
and you have those the foot mats.
And it's just like this rough, like you know. So it's just a suit that feels like that. In reality, like it doesn't feel like that inside, but in any case, it gives this feeling of actual, and it's an actual towel that we pieced each piece to make sure that it would fit into the suit. It's a double-breasted suit.
So this is like a plane, right? This is the reference.
Yeah, it's a plane with
what does that say?
Ajuda Airlines. It's my airline. It means help airlines.
Interesting.
So I made a film where there's a lot of older men falling from the sky, having their fun. Then I wanted to play also into more classic menswear. So we have like the idea of a tank top underneath a shirt, but it's actually just leather put between the fabric and embossed. So you have this like fake tank top on a shirt. It's like a one-piece garment. Here I have something I think would be very interesting to show. Sorry. So I really love making fun of men in general. I feel like it's one of those things with fashion, you can tease men into wearing a bit crazier things.
Very good.
So I really wanted to make a mini bag for a man, but when I told my dad, he was like, I would never carry a bag that is mini because it gives me no function.
Right.
So it was like 3 mini bags for you. I was like, okay, you want a mini bag?
At first I thought it was one continuous thing.
No, it's like 3 mini bags and they're supposed to be removable. Right now we cannot separate them.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah. But normally like they're pinned with buttons, so they're completely removable.
That's why the pins are there. Is there a way that you could make it where it's...
Where it separates?
Separated.
Yeah, no, right now they're separable, only that they're stitched here for the show, just to make sure that one doesn't fly away. Yeah. But normally they're completely separatable.
What's the hotel?
So the hotel, this ties into this one, so I can. But it's just like the collection of memories, you know. Like the more collection of memories you have in a garment, the more you keep it forever. You know, when things mean a lot to you, This is like a hotel, so somebody picked up like the tag of a hotel when they went. So it's this memory lane type of collection of items. I put them back in here, maybe it's better. Then, for example, here, it's a dress for a man. Again, playing into this idea, of course, like it can be wearable, but men today, sometimes classic menswear, people don't wear dresses. Yeah. So for me, it was like cute to make fun a little bit. It's a mini dress.
What's this fabric?
So, okay.
It's very hard.
So I explain a little bit, maybe we can open it a bit more. So practically, this fabric is actually just a cotton that I printed with a pinstripe that is slightly thicker. So I could fill it in with the cord in each line. So it's stitched on every line with a cord. So the cord would fill the gap, and then I would stitch another line on every single line. 5 days to prepare the fabric, like 5 12-hour days to prepare the fabric. And then you cut it. But I really wanted this effect of the luggage, you know, the plastic luggage with the little ridges. I really wanted to create this, but with a pinstripe that is very classic to a man. And then
that's why you have the badges of like travel and the hotel.
Yeah. It's like this idea of a luggage where people are putting like on themselves all these memories. Because the more memories, like if you notice, like sometimes you have a shirt that is like your lucky shirt. The more memories you have, the more times you wear it. I think the more like precious it is. Like you wouldn't throw it away for it to be thrown somewhere, you know? It's yours, it's like your own. So this one is mine.
Let me see some other patches. What's that?
Like this is just like, you know, when sometimes you have something stuck and it just like, oh, like this got stuck out of like, I don't know, you had something and you just glued it on top, you know? So there's like the price tag. Then there's like Yellow Park, there's like Grand Hotel, and it's like my hotel, Grand Hotel Sapena. And these are my drawings from the actual collection. So all my drawings have like these faces that express a little bit more, I think, what I do. Then, for example, this is like one of the pieces that I think have the most meaning. I had a really rough day making this. Like I was making a project that was different to this one, and I had a really rough day.
When you take a flight, the neck warmer things that you put
okay. No, it's actually the life vest to like, you know, like it's like pull here and it will blow up, you know, if you fall from the airplane. So I had a really rough day and I have really bad anxiety. And I was like, yeah, of course, most of us don't think the airplane would fall. But me as a person, I always think the airplane would fall. So this is actually a life jacket where like you put it on and it can blow up, you know, at any moment you might fall in the water and you won't die. It's only a bit, and this is just a classic wool. So I really wanted to make a reinterpretation of a gilet on a material that matches the suit. And then for sure, like, of course, it's a bit crazy, it's a bit a bigger shape.
What's the specific inspiration of the suit? Because obviously there's like no lapel.
I don't know the lapel. So this is actually, I wanted to reinterpret the suit from Pierre Cardin that the Beatles used to wear, the one with the no collar. So then you have the really beautiful shirt collar underneath and the tie, and then just this circular neck. Just this circular neck on top. Let's see if I have other looks here. So this one is upstairs right now, getting fixed.
Oh yeah, we can go and find it after.
But this, for example, is a full body luggage with a full body sock inside. Oh, wow. So this on the side is ginormous. It creates a box like a luggage. Yeah. And it's the only person in the airplane that is coming back because he's wearing a full body sock.
Can you transform that in any way?
In what do you mean?
So is there a way to turn it into anything?
Like I would have loved to turn it into a luggage. Maybe someday I will add a piece underneath and put wheels.
I think you could do that. Maybe like if you did like a campaign or something, you could like kind of turn
like to turn it into like a box and it closes. Yeah. No, for sure. Because here, for example, the eyewear, I think I might have it here. I think it's here. The eyewear is a sleeping mask. So it's a sleeping mask.
Did you make
sunglasses?
That?
Yeah, I made it with I collaborated with Harian. He's a designer, a sunglass maker and designer in the center of Florence. Right. And he made this. We collaborated to make it. It's super beautiful. I'm so happy with it because it's like this eye mask, a sleeping mask. So underneath you have the full body sock, which is I make a full body sock every year. I think it's the strangest thing in the world. Yeah, he's wearing a full body sock underneath.
Oh.
This year it's hiding because it's the luggage with the full body sock inside. There's like, oh, the dirty sock coming back from the trip, you know?
Right.
Like sometimes you put your dirty socks like in a bag and you carry it in your luggage. It's just that, and then for the hats I wanted to go a little bit more like, okay, with the garments I stayed very wearable, and then for the hats I wanted to make these boxes that just like interpret like these boxes that come with the luggages, you know, when you go and you send something.
What does that say?
So it says, so it's Ayuda Airlines, hope you don't fall. So it's just like, let's hope that this is not your last outfit.
Which of course is harkening back to the statement that he would make, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Now then,
What about the footwear?
the footwear. So the shoes I made back home, the idea was to reinterpret a go-go boot for a man, because I think it's one of those things that is never like, I don't know, like a heel. Sometimes men are so scared of wearing things that are associated with women's wear, which today I think it's still like so incredible that some men don't open themselves up a little bit more. So I really wanted to create a classic shoe that kind of came back to this like white shoe, super white boot shoe. I even have the boots. They're made with leather. They're a bit too white to kind of like seem like almost paper, almost fake, you know. They're almost like
What is it?
paper
It's
boots.
leather, isn't it?
Yeah, it's leather, but it's very thinned out, almost like paper, you know. Because they were for
So
me
you
the
deliberately thought about using a thin leather to make sure it gave that paper effect.
Yeah, exactly. Also, even the idea of having paper shoes, like paper-looking shoes, is the idea of having like paper airplanes, you know?
Right.
I think sometimes we think that we're flying on a paper airplane and that life is chill, you know? But it's not so chill. So pretty much that. Then, for example, here I have a reinterpretation of this shirt, but with a vintage Burberry trimming, like it was a vintage Burberry towel that I bought, and I cut out the trimming and I shaped it into the tank top. And then I beat it the full shirt.
So this is like external tank top detail, and then that's like more internal.
Yeah. So it both create like the same story, but in a different way. It's a reinterpretation.
Did you like apply these?
By hand. Yeah.
Wow.
Look.
That probably took a long time.
Yeah, but it's so fun. It's so fun to do. It's like just when you're stressed, no. But for sure. And then again, the towel pants. I think this one really reminds of like a carpet.
Yeah.
From like some sort of train or airplane or anything. Like it's this effect of like you know, it's kind of disgusting, but at the same time so fresh. Like you wear it and it's so fresh. You feel like you're floating. You know this because it's like so like the weave is so not heavy that you feel the breeze. You wear it and it's so breezy. So that would be it that I have right now here. Maybe I have one of the looks that is not actually here, but it's a full one-piece suit, I call it. So it's called Shower and Sleep. So it's practically about a man wearing a pajama that has a headpiece that wraps around the head like a towel.
Yeah.
It's all in one piece from head to toe.
Right.
Because it's about a woman.
Is the headpiece detachable? It's not.
No, it's not. It's completely attached to the shoulder, so the shoulder goes into the head.
Right.
So practically this look is about, I saw a woman once washing her hair in the bathroom on the airplane, and I was like, oh my God. And then she washed it off, she put her hair up, and she was like, let me sleep now. And I was like, what? You're really just gonna go to sleep with your head in, like, we're not here? But this is the full body sock. Like, my favorite thing about socks is 2 red striped socks, which you wouldn't believe. I have done it since first year. Every year, 2 stripe full body sock. And I don't own a single sock with 2 red stripes.
So what's the fascination if you don't own it?
I don't know. It's a magical
thing. Why don't you
thing.
make some for yourself?
Yeah, no, I made them and I broke them, so I don't own them anymore. No, but for me, the fascination is like these two red stripes. As a kid, like I still remember every single person I know that had two red striped socks. I really don't know why. I think I should be mentally tested for that. All my teachers are like, why the two red striped socks?
That's really fascinating because normally you would reference something that you own.
Yeah.
The two striped socks that you own.
But I feel like I'm not a two-striped red sock girl.
So why do you make it?
I don't know. I'm trying to find the perfect person to wear two red stripes. I wish I was, you know. But I feel like the idea of a full body sock is also one of those things where clothes is not clothes, you know. Like we are so used to thinking a shoe is a shoe, a bag is a bag because it was made for that purpose. But in art, things maybe could not be purposeful for this certain thing. So one time I made like pants, so they were actually shoes, giant shoes, but they were actually pants, you know. Is this idea of like a sock? Why is it just a sock? Like why wouldn't you wear a sock all over the body? Like if you would wear it in your feet, why wouldn't you wear it in your body? You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. I'm like, why one day I just want to be a shoe, I become a shoe. It's a bit a crazy thing to think.
We've seen that even historically, like Schiaparelli, for example, has the shoe hat.
You know, it's like
you don't have to wear shoes on your feet. You can wear it as a hat.
Yes.
Cufflinks.
It's a completely new, like I don't know. It's one of those things that when you're a kid and you're playing dress up and you don't have anything to put, you know, you put your dress as a cape and this as a that, and it's okay. Why wouldn't it be okay to wear a sock all over your body?
True.
I feel like the idea of having a sock all over my body is one of those things. I used to see a sock. And I don't know, like, you know, I would try to put it everywhere and I would be like, I don't have the power. And now that I know how to make things, I have the power to make myself a full body sock. I have made a full body sock for a woman, for a child, for everybody.
No, I love that. Like, what would be the difference in if you were to make it for a woman? Because this is like more menswear, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
What would be the difference if you were to make it for a child or a woman?
So when I have done it for a woman, what I did was the material was much thicker, also for like the protection of the body. I think when you have like softer materials are normally for men. I like this idea of like a very stiff one to reference the fact that women are pushed into.
What about men do you think makes the material softer? Because my assumption would be that men wear fabrics that are really
rougher. For me, it's the fact that men are normally, like, I come from a family of really strong women. And I wouldn't say weak men because that is so bad to say, but like softer men. Like my dad is like so sensitive with the stuff he wears, you know. He's like, oh, this is not good for my skin, you know, or his shoes, like he's so particular about his shoes. And my mom would wear 3 sizes smaller or 3 sizes bigger just to wear the shoe, you know, just to get the shoe. So I don't know, I feel like my dad, for example, would be so like, oh my God, like this is soft, I want to wear this, you know? And my mom would be like, if it looks good, I'm gonna wear it. So I think that is also something that the society does, for sure, that we become less like, you know, like less picky about wearable things or functional things. Like pockets for women are smaller. Like the way you button things is the opposite way for someone else to button.
People in society assume that women don't need as
much like you
space.
have a purse, but why do I don't have the option of a big pocket if I want, you know? Or like the way still like the buttonings of things are still the way they used to be because women used to be dressed by somebody. Like that is crazy. Why are we still doing that, you know? So it's one of those things. I don't want to challenge that. I just want to highlight it so much ironically.
Which I think is important.
If I highlight so much, then we're like, oh, that is stupid. Why do we do that, you know? It's like kind of funny. So I think for sure, like there is this thing where like women, like heels, you know, heels hurt so much. And still some women wear 12-inch heels and there is no comfortability put into them or a lot of technology put into them because it's like, okay, like, you know, a woman will wear 12-inch boots even if it hurts her. You know, like the most beautiful shoes in the market sometimes that are super expensive even don't have technology enough to keep a woman like comfortable all day in heels. So it's like one of those things I think we have to rethink, but at the same time I will exploit it to my irony. So maybe someday we're like, oh well, that is ironic, but that is actually true, you know. It's one of those things, like for sure, it's a problem, but at the same time, has a certain beauty to it in some way. Like I see my mom sometimes, she wears like something super uncomfortable and super everything. I'm like, wow, what a strong woman. But at the same time, is that okay that I think that, you know? It's a questioning, it's a circular questioning for sure. Like you go and you think about it.
Yeah. So can you tell me what's going on
With the beading?
this beading? What are you applying to the...
So right now we were gluing beads into this. It's the reinterpretation of this fabric, which is a very classic fabric, and I think beads have always been associated to women in the past like 20 years for sure. And we don't, like, you don't see men with like fully beaded stuff. It's like more simple, more soft again, like less, you know, pokey, less everything.
Strange, like why wouldn't men want to wear beads?
Yes, beads are so beautiful.
That's so nice.
So I just feel like beading is like one of those things that as a man, like in taken in this context where it's like very classic shirt for a man, but with the reinterpretation in beads. I think it gives comfortability of mind to men that want to wear this type of shirt, but then it pushes it a little bit with the beads.
So, hi, my name is Grigory, and I'm a student from Russia, and this is my collection that I titled Rise and Fall, which is like an inner monologue about the concept of power. So, because it's such a broad concept, which so many people interpret in so many different ways, I felt like it would be very interesting to depict it since we have like such a long year to really create this collection and go into detail with really everything, the references, the research, the sound, the textiles, and the shape. Right. But before I actually get into talking about it, what does the concept of power mean to you? Like,
power can mean anything. It can mean power in terms of physical strength. Mm-hmm. It can mean power in terms of like influence, mm-hmm. like influential power. It can mean power in terms of like financial power, mm-hmm. like money and what that can create. Mm-hmm. Power in terms of actual physical force, mm-hmm. like the power of, you know, a volcano or something.
I understand.
So I think it depends how you look at it.
So it is exactly, it's a very, very broad concept. But the reason why I asked you, what does it mean to you, and a lot of people who I was conversating about during the development of this process about the concept, because it's a very broad concept, and you know, if I was to ask people through a conversation to narrow it down, it was always like more often falling into a more negative connotation than a more positive. So the positive ones would be like power over yourself, like your own free will, financial independence. Yeah. But kind of some people were always saying like power over others, right. Which already has a lot of sides to it where some of those could be very good and some of those could be very bad with a big downfall. So because it's such a very delicate topic, I narrowed it down to two sides and really kind of just questioned can there be too much power? Is it good, and what does it do? Yeah. Narrowed it down to two sides, the gain of power and the show of power. For the gain of power, I'm looking at the early 20th century, this industrialization peak with the development of the industrial levels of crude oil and petrol oil development, which has been boosting the upper class, boosting machinery production, and so many other good and bad things. Yet, you know, it's a very, very cruel and rough resource, and the whole process of getting it. It's very destructive. While you're using it, there's so much emission. The process of getting exactly, and then the whole process of getting it is just you're killing the sea life, you're killing the wildlife. And there's so many wars happening always, trying to control such precious resource. So it's a very, very interesting thing. So kind of like it really creates this almost like a yin-yang thing. It was like, power is something good, but at the same time, it brings an inevitable damage to things. And for the show of power, I was looking at early 20th century Russia, because that was the fall of the imperial age in there, where monarchy was thrown over, and kind of that was this after started the whole communist regime. But before it started, the whole imperial era was very closely, first of all, connected to Europe, whether through family, romantic, business, or friendship ties, which has had a huge effect on the fashion in there. Like all of the upper ruling class were kind of almost mandatory to speak French. A lot of them knew German. Tsar's Nikolai's second wife, she was very close. She was a member of the German royal family at that time. So there was so many interesting correlations, but it's not just about the international kind of connection of that time. It was really about the military showcase, the military power. Your military status was really the main attribute to your financial, your social status. Like, for example, the Tsar, who's the ruler, who we usually expect to kind of rule, but really from the back. So that was the time where your military status was a direct representation of your financial, your social status. And, you know, the ruler, who you would kind of always imagine to kind of be really at the back and kind of ruling the whole process from, you know, almost the top, like the king on the chessboard. At that time, the monarch was the person who was actually leading the army in the avant-garde lanes. So the military attributes were almost mandatory. You would even see like Tsar's daughters captured in photographs with medals and like somewhat gold cord-esque elements in there. And in this collection, I wanted to really connect the cruel essence of this gain along with this kind of military, with this military framing that was really put it to that time, and to put it into a more ready-to-wear collection for women. And the collection was very based on fabrics. So something that could be super familiar, kind of when we're talking about military topics, which can be wool gabardines, kind of we're going into more khaki green and gray colors, with some kind of utilitarian elements or uniform elements from really even the oil rig workers, like the sporty sleeves, and moving into more industrial themes, kind of translated through the fabric, like this memory fabric that has metal infused in it, so once you scrunch it, it really stays in this shape, that I was lucky enough to get my hands on, because I think this was made as a part of a Bologna textile exhibition in 2018. But please feel free to touch things. My favorite fabric in this collection is this peach hand silk viscose that goes as this one little styling piece for an asymmetrical mini dress, complemented with industrial style snip buttons with a rustic effect on them, with a raw and frayed edge, that ideally I would see combined together. May I use it for a second? Combined with this bolero jacket and a longer skirt. The oil that I mentioned earlier, I wanted to represent it in combination with the more historical looking pieces that look very similar to something that the Tsar family would have. The way that it's created is by, first of all, using half-dried epoxy that already has this almost clay-like texture, applying it under pretty high temperature so that it dries up faster while it's only going down, and then using a special paint for metal fences that's meant to withstand extreme weather temperatures that always looks like it's going to stain you if you touch it. And this element was further on developed in, for example, I'll just give it back to you in a second, in this cocoon jacket that is a that has actually taken inspiration from this military personnel that was bullying me a couple of years ago when they were trying to draft me.
Is that like a mandatory draft?
Yes.
Seriously?
I was able to get out of it, but
Wow.
I can't talk about this on camera. I can't talk about this on camera, that's some of my secrets. But yeah, and a lot of pieces here, they're holding a certain almost like personal connection due to certain events that would happen, like this cocoon jacket that has an insanely difficult construction. You can't imagine how many prototypes it took over and over to get it right, with some classical like Tuscan tailoring and stitching.
To like have the shape be consistent?
So inside, and in the beginning, so how I approached it was that on the mannequin, I created the mold using Avatsa and foam that I have later on taped over using this very like wide paper tape. Took off the paper tape and peeled it off and used that thing as the mold for the pattern pieces. After that, turned the pattern, made the pattern pieces in cadapeto. This is this material that always used for constructions. Later on, I redid it in horsehair and used stitchable and non-stitchable boning on the inside to make the shape stand. On top, it's covered with 2 layers of thin agugliato to give it a slightly softer effect so there will be less bubbling. Then used this pretty heavy tailoring wool on top. And thanks to help of my wonderful friends who you can see also on the background helping me out by really applying some either like hand-on hand stitching, or yesterday for 12 hours there was a performance of Italian classical tailored ironing performed in this piece. It was the special board. If you'll be going upstairs, you can see the small crooked ironing board that's like, let's say like 50 years old, that is like this classical shape used for tailoring. So for this I had to combine a lot of more historical, traditional elements of stitching and designing with something more modern. Whether using some more unconventional materials like you can see here with that metal fabric and vinyl coated gabardine.
I mean, when I think of something that visually looks like this, it does remind me of oil a bit.
I'm very glad. Yeah. Also the hand of it has this very like slick finish.
What's the reason for this back construction here?
So this piece was actually coming as the inspiration from 2 jackets. The pilot jacket and the tank driver jacket. The pilot jackets, they always had this one pocket on the side. So essentially whenever you are out there in the airplane, it's a very, very cramped space. You can never access your pocket here. Yeah. It's very hard to access a chest pocket, so they're always way lower. And sometimes, because you're either very high up or you're on the ground in this metal shell, they had to have a lot of additional layering and a backpack. Because whenever they would be traveling. So here I wanted to look into something that would be more aerodynamic and really submerge some of the elements together. So in this aerodynamic element of the movement of the fabric on the back, so essentially almost like you see somebody in motion, is represented both in this piece that has the thing in the bolero jacket or in this horsehair monstrosity skirt. You can see right here. So this material is used usually inside of the blazers as it's called horsehair to give more structure, but here I wanted to bring it because, I think it has a beautiful structure and texture used with that same vinyl gabardine on top, and links back to that same aerodynamic shape. So you can either wear it like this, or that can be worn more on the front, depending on the occasion. Well, it's made to fit somebody
it's
with.
Interesting how you've taken elements from like the pilot's jacket that are more utilitarian and mixed it with the concept of a plane itself.
Yeah, thank you.
Interesting how you fuse it.
Thank you very much. We already had somebody mixing things with the plane aesthetic here today. And then
it's kind of weird.
It is. But we're sitting actually pretty far from each other on the floor. And then kind of just quickly to run through, we have some more historical military elements. This was actually started as the rabo from the First World War cavalry military pant, which was reworked into more of a woman's wear, more sleek shape, with moving the volume from the side towards the front and removing everything from the back, you will see on the show, to give a more fitted, clean and cinched complementary finishing for the human's body. Made out of a super, super thin cuff nappa, using another kind of vinyl coating on top of the gabardine.
Right.
And
which I think does achieve that effect once again, the oil kind of thing.
Thank you.
This kind of fabric here.
And then some of my personal favorites in this collection are the pipeline jackets. Before I mentioned this industrial pipeline and how that was really bringing, let's just say, new air, new energy into the world and into the economy, and still does. And I wanted to kind of reference it in some of the garments. So really the construction of this is inspired by the pipeline, going back to kind of the motion that you will see in this green cocoon jacket that goes like this. Same thing happening here. This coat is constructed so it really closes only up to here, and then the rest is coming outwards with a special kind of crinoline used to reinforce these tubes in there that are completely hollow from the inside, so giving this a very, very light finishing. This is made out of suede that is 6/10 of a millimeter, so it's super, super delicate. Here it has a bit of adhesivo, but on the sleeve you can touch it and you can really see how delicate it is. So, and given this, the special effect using the acrylic airbrush, so it looks like it was stained, dirty during the wear and tear. Along with it goes these complementary joggers, taking elements from the cargo pants and playing a bit more with deconstruction and distressing with one side having this wrinkles and dripping down. And actually for this I had to skim the leather even more, so this is either a fifth of a millimeter or a fourth of a millimeter right here, so if you touch it it's even thinner than the sleeve now. And then my other personal favorite, which was a nightmare in construction, but inspired by that small jacket because I was really fascinated by that pipeline story and I wanted to connect it into a more tailored coating piece, which goes this wool coat.
Construction-wise, this does seem very...
You can see it from the inside if I move it tight. In here I wanted to keep the lining a little bit transparent using this 100% silk gauze, so you can almost even see the connections, the piping, and how it all comes together. And this internal strap system is meant to lace up and tighten some of the pieces. And I use jewelry that's also covered in that same paint to kind of either link back to that gold cord feeling, yet in a more simple and a more kind of almost brutal feeling, because I wanted to show the shape but not really go into that same texture. So there's that. There's a few more pieces here. Such as some knitwear and some skirts, but essentially the color palette is more toned down. We're going into slightly more desaturated colors, but it's really all about texture and the finish.
Reason for why you've chosen these colors?
I mean, I feel like the topic as it is, it can have positive and negative connotations, but you always have to approach the concept of power with a cool mind, because it's one of those things that can really corrupt someone. It's one of those things that always is very unpredictable in the way that the way that you would behave in any situation. So even in a more toned down, cold color palette, I wanted to reference back to it.
Okay, just leaving my hotel now. Essentially, I want to get to the Polimoda show a few minutes before so I can kind of film sort of the pre-show stuff that goes on with a lot of these graduate shows. So hopefully I'm gonna rush, I'm gonna leave, and then see if I can get there on time to film that. Also, today's outfit, I've got my Anzuelamista woolly boots, the double zip detail that I absolutely love. And then I've got some vintage denim, Martin Rose shirt, Hugo Boss tie, and obviously the famous A Cold War cap. I'm bringing it back from the dead. But yeah, let's head out. So the day that all the students have been waiting for, it's finally the show day. All the adjustments have been made, collections completed, and now it's time to showcase their collections to the fashion world. Today they have to do some last minute testing. They also need to ensure that the models walk on the runway to make sure they have a good feeling of the speed that they need to walk, also in what order they need to walk. So there will be some testing in that sense. Okay, so the models come out of there and then they go through that lighted curve to where the runway is. So I'll show you guys what the runway looks like. So then obviously they turn and then get to here, and this is where the actual runway show is. So that's kind of how it's going to work. So right now you have rehearsals still going on. So essentially what they're doing is they're practicing walking through the section that they'll go through, which leads to the runway here. So as you can see, this connects the backstage to the actual runway. So as you can see right now, this is a practice walk. You can see the tutors also kind of telling them where to go. So normally, for people that don't know, with a lot of these shows, they have to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. We've seen loads of walks happen already, where they've practiced their walk, they've practiced the route, they've practiced the order. Now everyone is getting changed, and the people that have gotten changed, they're using that as an opportunity to practice one more time. So that's essentially how the practice normally goes. The show opened with Nansen's collection, and immediately it was great to see the garments in motion. Initially, we could only see the lineup as he had put his garments away in preparation for the show. He actually ended up winning the best collection of the year, and the ski and architectural influences he described earlier can be seen across the collection. From tailoring with a forward-leaning silhouette to signify the forward lean during skiing, to a jacket with a 3D knitted structure inspired by an aerial view of an Arctic landscape. And my personal favorite is this crazy faux fur coat. He actually told me that he had to use a really thick fabric so he could anticipate the shrinking that would come from melting the fabric with heat. He was trying to create a texture of fur that was in line with historic Nordic tribes and what they used to wear to protect themselves from the elements. It was also great seeing everyone else's collection in motion. Sofia Sapena's collection was obviously great and I really loved it. I loved the sense of humor that came through. I think that she makes really exceptional accessories. I hope that's something that she works on moving forward. You know, the sleeping mask sunglasses, the triple mini bag that could become even bigger depending on how she develops it from there, the interesting footwear. I think she's really great. It was great to see, of course, JT Prince with his nostalgia baked into the collection. My favorite piece, of course, is the lining that has leaked out of the jacket that has now become its own dress. Absolutely love the idea. I like the way he executed it. I think the execution on the pieces that are supposed to reference a couch are also really great. It was really great to see that the attention to detail was there, even down to the piping that you normally see with couches is in the footwear and in the skirts. And there are different iterations. The top, of course, that was an ode to visiting his grandparents' farm. That was really cool to see that put in different items and pieces and the other different odes to farmland in Idaho that were across the collection. And of course, Grigory, his collection was absolutely amazing. The tailoring was sharp, the lines were cool, the techniques were advanced, the use of horsehair, the cocoon jacket, the oil that is supposed to look like the kind of crude oil, but also the kind of oil that if you touched it, it would be stuck to you, but actually it's a visual effect, was absolutely amazing. And of course, those were the designers I interviewed, but I would suggest that you look at everyone else's collection. I thought the whole class was absolutely amazing. I felt everyone had a strong collection, and I was really impressed coming off looking at the Runway show. Next, I interviewed Massimilliano Giornetti, an Italian fashion designer who was the creative director of Salvatore Ferragamo from 2004 to 2016. He is now currently the director of Polimoda. I also interviewed Maxence Dinant, one of the major fashion tutors at Polimoda.
I was a Polimoda student many years ago, so as an alumno of the school, there's also a very emotional moment in being the director of the school. There's a lot of experience that I bring at the disposal of the school, a lot of friends of mine that bringing here to not only teach but also to create a community. That to me is the most important element. It is sometimes easy to make a beautiful collection, but it's very difficult to keep the consistency because every season is a new challenge. Every season you have to keep the same tone of voice and having the ability of creating a new chapter in your own language. And then I really believe it's our role at the school. As professors coming with experience from the fashion industry, I really believe that it's not only about teaching them what and how, but also the importance of creating a team of people working with you, creating community, because there's a moment in which you're not able anymore to do by yourself. You need other people supporting you from the financial point of view, merchandising point of view. Every single step has an importance. So it's like a tussle, like in a puzzle, where you are creating not only visually, but also in terms of community, people that be supporting you in every moment, when you are up and when you are down. That's evident in the fashion industry. That's not like, every time it's like flashes and there are even dark moments, and the people supporting you are supporting you even when you are down, giving you like the strength and energy to keep on working on that. That's what I really believe it is so important from our side as director, as a person from the Polimoda faculty, not only teaching how to make a collection, but also the emotional,
so they can actually,
the emotional point of view that to me is so fundamental in this moment, in which I really feel that designers not more judged by the strength, the power that a collection is able to communicate, but only numbers, how much you are growing up, how much
what's the sales, what's the revenue figures,
and to me it's killing their creativity.
It 100% is. It 100% is. And it just gets worse and worse. I mean, we see now what's going on in the industry. Every brand is trying to be the next Louis Vuitton, make 20 billion euros. And any designer that can't do it gets axed, even if they have great collections and amazing collections, great creativity. But unfortunately, if the bottom line isn't there, the industry we're in now, there's a whole circle and cycle of designers.
And even a super high level, you still have turbulences nowadays, because for a brand that has 10 billion revenues, going flat or even decreasing 4%, it's insane. It's
because
really,
it's such a big figure.
So it's very important from my perspective, this sense of community that was really fascinating to me. When I see students of first year, second year, third year, people in the show, people outside the show supporting each other. That's something that I don't know, because my generation was not was not growing up with the spirit of a community. My generation was success or unsuccess. My success means you are not successful one. This generation is searching for something that's much more authentic. It's searching for an independency of and a different tone of voice. So what they really love is about the spirit of creating something that's new. I don't want to be big, I want to be authentic. To me, it's fascinating because I'm coming from a fashion industry in which the contamination and also the diktat from the merchandising and the market is about this color is not sellable in this market. This is too short, this is too long, this is too heavy. They have still the ability to have us, the community, the faculty of the school, supporting them, teaching them also how to enter inside the fashion industry, but also without the pressure of 30% up this season. That to me is crazy. It's crazy.
Hi, my name is Maxence Dinant. I'm a fashion design teacher here at Polimoda.
So what is the process like when students are building their graduate collections from start to finish? Kind of what needs to be developed, what needs to be changed along the way, and kind of what do you need to help them with to help them get to that point?
Well, we really try to make the work very personal. So when they come the first day, we ask them to be prepared about their storytelling, what they want to express with this final collection. And sometimes it is very abstract, It can be it's very often linked to their country, to the places they have lived, their experiences. But sometimes it is quite abstract. And then our job is how to make this really abstract concept into something more tangible, concrete. And step by step, first with words, then with images, and then with designs, we get to translate these concepts into something more recognizable as a garment.
is there like a process in terms of like, for example, when you do mood boards, is there a set number of mood boards people have to do, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have these sort of golden rules for the for the mood board, and every teacher kind of has their own sort of rules.
Yes.
For us, it's important that to keep it tight, one mood board preferably, where we can see at the center the person you have in mind to dress.
Yes.
Because when it gets too abstract, when we forget we're dressing a person, then you get lost. We always say the mood board is the map in the desert. Wherever you are in your design process, the answer, the direction should be on your mood board if you get lost. And if the mood board is done properly, the students usually find their way back.
Right.
But at the center, there's the person, their attitude, the emotion they want to convey with the clothes and with the collection.
Nice. Now, when they start designing clothing, how many parts are there? So how many like crits or how many times do they have to show, like get feedback along the way? Or do they just finish designing a piece completely and then there's feedback after? How does that work?
No, so we see them every week.
Okay.
And then there are revisions once a month or once every other month with the director, the head of the department, and the mentor. So they get feedback from people that don't follow them on a day-to-day basis. And they first show their drawings, and then they show their prototypes. And once those get signed off, they work on the final fabrics.
Okay.
So it's really gradual, step by step, until the last revision when they show their finished garments and where we work more on styling them.
Yeah. Now, something I found really interesting, so I went to Central St. Martin's, right? And in Central St. Martin's, you don't have to make footwear.
Okay.
But I realized with a lot of the students I spoke to, footwear was part of their collection and they're graded. That's very interesting. Is there a reason for that?
Well, sometimes, like a shoe can make or break an outfit.
Right.
Like it can give just the right height, or on the contrary, you know, if you wear flat shoes, it's a completely different attitude. And we've really seen collection transform, but that's the same in the industry.
Yeah.
When the shoes arrive, you put them on the models, it really makes or breaks the look.
Yeah.
So we really want the students, if they cannot make the shoes, but at least think about them, customize them, to really show that they have this vision at 360 degrees and understand the importance of the shoe. Just like the bag, you know, there are elements that can also create contrast in the outfit. You know, if everything is very soft, your shoe might want to be something stronger, bolder. I don't know. We like to stimulate them in this direction. It's not because you use lace in your garments that you have to have lace shoes, you know, that sort of thing.
Is there like guidance in terms of the fit? Is there a footwear designer that's part of staff? Okay.
Yes, Diego Dolcini, he's a shoe designer. He's mentoring them on shoe design, yes.
That's a big advantage.
Yes.
Because a lot of fashion schools don't have someone who's from footwear, like a footwear background.
Yes.
So footwear normally in most fashion schools tends to be forgotten about, kind of in the background.
And we have shoe design in school as well. So some students have collaborated with students in shoe design to make their shoes. And they've made some of the shoes in school as well. So for us, like we don't stress the fact that they have to make themselves, but the more they do by themselves, the better.
Nice.
Yeah.
And last question, what help is there in terms of construction? Do they work with certain pattern makers or machinists? How does that work?
Well, they do most of the work by themselves. There is staff in school to help them, but the direction is you do not make the clothes for the students.
Yes.
You guide them, you help them, you show them how it's done,
Yes.
but at the end they have to make it themselves. Besides the teachers, those people are always in school and they can help them. Some students do get help outside of school, it's their decision.
Yeah.
Some pieces are very complex to make, and maybe they try once, twice, 3 times and it doesn't work, and then they get someone else to help them with. But it's equally as important to know how to explain someone else how to make your garments.
Exactly.
So we like to let them kind of figure out themselves how to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, especially now in an industry where everything is outsourced.
Yes.
And I think in fashion we do miss, you know, designers like the McQueens and stuff that get on the floor and can make everything themselves.
Yeah,
so that's great that from design school, designers are encouraged
Yes.
to do as much as they can by themselves. That's very, very beneficial. Yeah.
Nansen here is a very good example. He's one of those that did everything himself. And this knitwear, like this is woven in school. I like to show this.
Oh wow.
This fabric was woven in school, and this was knitted in school, all by a student. So I love that. You know, this was just a fiber, and a student made into a garment. Wow.
Yeah, so that's the end of the show. As you guys saw, we did interviews. We got Hanan being a weirdo in the background. So that's the end. It was really, really fun. I think the collections were amazing. I think this set of Polimoda students had really strong collections. I was quite impressed speaking to all the students about their collections and seeing what they had to say. So yeah, that's how it goes down at Polimoda in terms of the graduate collections. Let me know what your favorite collections were and what you thought about the whole experience as a whole.